Welcome back to The Full View. Now, despite waiting for President Cyril Ramaphosa to announce a new cabinet, government continues to function thanks to administrators like the Directors General of various departments. The political executive of the 6th administration ceased to exist on Wednesday last week when Ramaphosa took his oath of office during his inauguration in Tshwane. Nhlanhla Kgatlana looks at the arrangements that are in place to ensure a seamless transition in terms of the business of government. And as the Government of National Unity Coalition blocks keeps growing, we have to ask the question, does this present a unique opportunity to forge a politics of non-racialism in South Africa? Prof. Thuli Madonsela is my guest in this conversation. Prof, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Before we answer the substantive question on if it gives the opportunity, one has to ask is, should we pursue right now any opportunity to forge a politics of non-racialism, or is that premature given the socio-economic conditions of the country?
Well, greetings to you and to the listeners. The answer for me is we have always been required to pursue the politics of non-racialism. Of course, right-wing people believe non-racialism means being colorblind and ignoring the fact that we are a pyramid society that is extremely unequal, particularly on the basis of race, but also on the basis of other grounds such as gender, disability, sexual orientation, etc. And therefore, non-racialism, in terms of our Constitution, particularly Section 9, the values and the preamble, means understanding that the right to equality includes the duty to redress inequality.
So one then also has to ask, if South Africa is sitting on a racial hotbed at the moment, if you rewind a little bit to the unrest of July 2021 and consider the fact that one of the prerequisites, or at least the bargaining prerequisites for the Freedom Front Party in giving its support to the ANC is the recognition of Oranje as a racial enclave for Afrikaners to self-actualize within. These are pulling in a vastly different direction, albeit in the same direction, and that is a racialized direction. One has to then ask, is South Africa sitting on a racial implosion hotbed?
We are sitting on a racial implosion hotbed, primarily because we've used the law mostly to get people to move towards an equal society. We need to start engaging on a one-to-one about what does a racially equal society look like? What is the damage that was done by the past, and how do we address it together? And having a government of national unity begins to give us an opportunity to have the Freedom Front Plus in the same place at Cabinet, where these discussions around substantive equality take place. Regarding the place of Oranje, it is a bit of a problem that the community is racially exclusive. But if it were a cultural community that, for example, says you can go in if you subscribe to a particular culture, perhaps based on language or something like that, I could understand. Having said that, it's really not time to start wars with places like Oranje. I like your first conversation. Let's tackle inequality. We're a pyramid society that was designed to be so, starting with Cecil John Rhodes, finished off by Fairwood. In the last 30 years, we've done a lot to try and accommodate people within that pyramid. It's impossible to accommodate people within that pyramid. We have to rupture that pyramid and build a diamond-shaped society where Black people are not just being given the promise of jobs, they are given an opportunity to advance in all areas of social and economic opportunity, including a democratized economy where they are owners in all spaces.
Is a non-racialized politics a necessary condition for a politics of egalitarianism and equality?
It is, but we keep, of course, going to that point around what is non-racialized politics, the right wing globally says non-racialized politics means we don't talk about race. So we pretend we don't see that we're unequal on the basis of race.
Colorblind.
And when we're colorblind. And when we're in a room, let's say somebody appoints an executive and there's not a single black woman, their approach would be, we don't talk about that because that's racialized politics. That's not non-racialism. Non-racialism was conceived by black, white, Indian, and colored leaders during the struggle. And their understanding of non-racialism meant everybody is in, everybody is equally valued, and everyone benefits all societal goods and opportunities in society within the full spectrum of society.
Can political parties with vastly opposing views on approach to redress be able to find each other in the negotiation of the national project?
Absolutely, they can. And I think having a government of national unity begins to depolarize that conversation. So it's not like you're out, some are in, it's within the shared space. We then use the Constitution. One of my colleagues has said that the good thing about there be no outright governing party is that it offers space to use the Constitution as a lodestar. And the Constitutional Court has provided ample guidance on what does it mean to rectify racial, gender, and other imbalances, and why do we have those? Daniels versus Kribante, Minister of Finance versus Van Heerden, Pretoria Municipality versus AfriForum. And these are cases that we can simplify and make accessible to all the politicians.
Yeah. At its core, Prof, democracy is about trade-offs, right? And oftentimes where trade-offs happen, it comes through a negotiated process. And it is those with the least to gain and the most to lose that oftentimes make the biggest sacrifices in any sort of trade-off that may happen at that point in time. How do we safeguard against South Africa's most disenfranchised and most vulnerable being those that have to make the biggest trade-off in this continued negotiation of our democratic project?
I think the first thing is awareness, just awareness of the landscape that you've just painted, that we are unequal. There are those who are left behind, and they're not left behind because they've necessarily made bad choices. They're left behind because we were designed to be an unequal society. So there will be a requirement of, number one, embracing the Constitution, not cherry picking. There are some political parties that cherry pick. They use American right-wing jurisprudence to interpret our situation, and they refuse to accept our Constitution, including the preamble that is very clear that we're adopting this Constitution to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society that is based on three pillars, which is democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights.
I take it you're not going to name which party that is.
I'm not going to do so, but they are the only ones. You know, I've just come back from a conference on anti-corruption, and I spoke, and then we drafted a declaration. I'm a social justice activist, but I realized that, you know, this is not my space. I didn't include social justice. I included equality in my own draft. But guess what? The declaration had social justice because the rest of the world understands that you cannot build a successful society, a successful world on the basis of social injustice. So, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone must accept the Constitution.
We're going to have to leave it there. Prof. Thuli Madonsela, really appreciate your time and your insights as we wrap up that conversation. So wish we had a lot more time to speak about the jurisprudence of social justice and how it is diametrically opposed to what seems to be the political moment of negotiation that might be taking place. Thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it.